if you're a new investment salesperson, don't do this. I'm going to tell you a story about a new investment salesperson that had called me maybe about 10 years ago. This is a story from way back when, but I wanted to let you guys know of things not to do. And the things that you don't want to do is to not know the relationship between cap rate, NOI, and value. So a few of the things that I wanted to go over are pro forma cap rate versus in-place cap rate, CAGR, which is compounded annual growth rate, upside, stabilized NOI, and the idea that maybe you're going to overpay for a property that has a lot of upside in order to have the opportunity to work on that upside and gain the value that you essentially paid for to the seller by paying a premium for upside, right? So here's the story. I was sitting at my office over here in Miami, and this new investment sales guy calls me up and says, "Hey, I got a shopping center that I'd love to sell you that has a lot of upside." And I said, "Okay, tell me some more." Well, the property is 100,000 square feet. It's 65% occupied. So you have the upside of 35% of the property that you can lease up and increase the NOI. I'm like, okay, great. That sounds good. Says, okay, well, I'll tell you that the going in cap rate is a 5% cap rate. And I was like, going in cap rate's a 5% cap rate? Wow. So I said, well, how long do you think it's going to take for me to get the property to stabilization, like 95% occupied or 100% occupied? So he thought about it and said, well, probably 2 years. So leasing up 35,000 square feet of small shop space in 2 years. Maybe it's possible if you're very, very good. Maybe you can do it even faster. I don't know. Maybe it takes longer. I've seen it more times than not take longer. And then I said, okay, well, in 2 years, what do you think the exit cap should be? Now, mind you that the interest rates at the time, call it like 5.5%. And he thought about it and he said, well, I think that the, stabilized cap rate in 2 years should be 7.5% cap rate. I go, okay, great. So that's interesting. So when I go and exit, I should be able to sell it for the market cap rate at that time, which he thinks will be about 7.5%. Because certainly 5% cap rate's way too low for a shopping center, even in today's market, 2026, right? So, and at the time I'm talking about 2015, 2016. So I started to quiz them a little bit more. And I'm going to give you some numbers that aren't the exact numbers, but this will be a little bit easier for you to follow along. So if it's a 5% cap rate and the property is, let's just say $10 million, he's trying to sell this 100,000 square foot property at $10 million. At 5% cap rate, it's a $500,000 net operating income. And maybe he's getting the $10 million because the seller is saying, hey, look, I'm really selling it at a price per pound. That's a jargon for price per square foot. And if he's selling it at price per pound, $100 per square foot is a below replacement cost. And he's saying, really, I'm not looking at it even on a cap rate basis, it's price per pound. And let's just say that the property is 65% occupied and there's a CAM, a common area maintenance cost across the whole property, because whether the property is 100% leased or 0% leased, it still needs landscaping. It still needs repairs and maintenance. It still needs cleaning. It still needs insurance. It still needs real estate taxes. So it needs all of those things regardless, whether it's 65% occupied or 100% occupied. And just for this example, let's just say it's a $4 per square foot CAM. Well, what that means is that if it's 65% occupied, that means it's 35% vacant. And if you were to take the $4 a square foot and multiply it by 35,000 square feet of vacancy, right now the property is slipping about $140,000 just on the vacancy, assuming the 65,000 square feet of occupied space is paying all of their pro rata share of operating expenses. So if you do the back of the napkin math, which I did, it's about $9.90 per square foot average base rent over the occupied square footage of the 65,000 feet, which makes sense for at that time and during that kind of market. Remember, it's 2016, so a while ago. So then I started asking him, well, if my cost to borrow is 5.5% and you want to sell this to me at a 5% cap rate, I'm at negative leverage, which means one of two things. I got to either get seller financing, which is seller financing is fine, but a lot of sellers don't want to do that because they want to take the money and do something else with it. Or I need to get some sort of bridge financing that is a lot more expensive. So bridge financing is usually about, call it 500 basis points or 600 basis points spread over your index rate, where a normal interest rate at that time was, call it a 230 basis point spread. So you're paying a 270 basis point spread premium to do the bridge loan as opposed to a normal fixed rate loan. So I took the 500 spread that the bridge lender is going to charge me and subtract from it the 230 spread that a normal bank would have charged me. And then I try to figure out, well, what's the equity that I would need to put into the deal? I was, again, just asking them questions. Well, at 35%, of the purchase price, if I'm borrowing 65% of the purchase price, I'm borrowing $6.5 million, which means that if the purchase price is 10 million, I need to put up $3.5 million. And then there's usually, call it, $300,000 of transaction fees as well. So I'm in it for $3.8 million, not including any cash reserves or project reserves that I need to do any improvements and lease-up costs and things like that, which I'll talk about later. So then I asked them about the pro forma in 2 years at 100% occupancy. What does that look like? And the pro forma, of course, a lot of the brokers, they never take general vacancy into account. They don't really take into account the cost to get the property leased up, the leasing commissions, the tenant improvement allowance, the time itself, because the longer it takes, the more I'm paying this super high interest rate, right? And the more that this slippage is happening in the vacancies of the common area operating costs. So 35,000 square feet of vacancy, it's likely it's 10 vacant bays if it's all small bays. And if you have some junior anchor spots and some small bays, it could be 5 vacant bays, but somewhere between 5 to 10. If you want to be somewhat conservative in your underwriting, you're saying I'm going to lease up one new vacancy every 3 or 4 months, which means that at best you're leasing up 3 to 4 vacancies per year. And if there's 10 vacancies, that's going to take you 3 years. And if it's 5 vacancies, maybe it's 2 years. But just for the benefit of the doubt, let's use a 2-year time span that's going to take to get it to full occupancy. And if I were to use an average base rent for the new space, for the 35,000 square foot space of $12 a square foot, and I were to back out the slippage and add in the current NOI, you get about $1.06 million of pro forma NOI. And you can argue that that's a pro forma 10 cap at that point, right? But you're not taking into account anything else. And I would say that I've bought these kinds of properties before, not at a 5 cap, but at a normal cap rate. And when you're buying these fixer-uppers that are so vacant, they're vacant for a reason, and at $100 a square foot, and that's also for a reason, you got to put money into it. You have to put landscaping, you have to put paint, probably roof, asphalt. Just to give you an idea, to do a new roof today, just a roof, is about $10 a square foot. So 100,000 square foot shopping center, it's a $1 million roof, right? To do just the parking lot, because 100,000 square foot shopping center, you're on about 400,000 feet of land, right? That's a 0.25 floor area ratio. So 400,000 square feet of land is roughly about 10 acres. And you're talking about easily another $1 million in mill and overlay if you had to do the parking lot. And I'm not talking about LED lights. I'm not talking about the inside of the space. I'm not even talking about paint. Paint's easily another $150,000 to paint this property, if not a little bit more. You have to look at the retention pond, pylon signs, your sewer, lift stations, all of that. So I'm not even talking about any of that. I'm going to just give it $1 million. So I'm doing a light facelift, maybe some new roof here and there, but $1 million, right? So it sounds like a lot, but I gave you the costs of what it would do, what it would take for a 100,000 square foot property, it's really not that much. Now, if I were to take the 35,000 square feet of vacancy and lease it up, and I'm using, call it $20 a square foot. If I use $15 a square foot for the tenant improvement allowance and $5 a square foot for the leasing commissions, and leasing commissions are roughly about 6%, right? So $5 a square foot for the rents I'm talking about, and 5-year leases, the 10-year leases, it works out about that. $20 a square foot on 35,000 square feet, you're talking about $560,000 in lease-up costs. And I think I'm actually under projecting that. It probably would cost more. Now, if you get it to 100% leased, if you go and try to sell it and you have an appraiser look at the property, they're not going to consider it a 100% leased, or at least give you credit for all 100%, because you always have to include a general vacancy factor. Always. Appraisers, that's just rule of thumb. And when you're underwriting a property as an acquisitions person for the buyer, you also do that. So let's just use a 5% general vacancy, because the property was 35% vacant just a couple years ago. So it would be unreasonable to assume that the general vacancy is anything less than 5% going forward. So 5% of the gross revenue, and I did the math, is about $70,000 per year. And so that's a direct reduction of the NOI. Now, let's look at the new basis. So I said that you bought the property for about $10 million. I think I said that there's about $300,000 in transaction costs on the front end when you're buying. This is your attorney's fees, survey, property condition assessment, your environmental report. This is when you get the loan, the cost to get the loan. I mean, usually these hard money lenders or these bridge lenders, you're a point N, so $6.5 million or $65,000 just for the fee to that lender, not including any broker if you hired a broker to get that debt. So very reasonable, right? So $10 million initial basis. And also, when you're buying the property, there's doc stamps and things like that. So $10 million to buy the property, $300,000 for the initial transaction costs, $1 million for the fixing up, just a light fix up, $700,000 for the tenant improvement allowance and leasing commissions. And then you have a bridge loan. Like I said, you're paying a premium on the loan interest rate because it's a bridge loan, 270 basis points. And if that's over 2 years, you're talking another $360,000 of extra interest that you wouldn't have had to pay otherwise. So now you're at $12,360,000 is kind of like your new basis, right? Well, at 100% leased, you have $1,060,000 of NOI. You subtract the $70,000 of general vacancy, and you end up with a stabilized NOI of $990,000 of what the appraiser and the bank and any buyers how they would look at it. If you were to take that and divide it by the 7.5% exit cap that broker said would probably be the market cap rate at that time, you're looking at $13.2 million as what you would sell the property for at the time. And $13.2 million, if you sell it, you're paying 2 to 3, 4% commission to the sales broker, probably 3%. You're paying a number of other fees as well, attorney's fees, etc. So really, I use 5% transaction costs on the back end when you go sell the property. So that's $660,000. So really, you net $12,540,000 after those back end transaction costs, after you greatly improve the property, right? You went from a $500,000 NOI to a $990 NOI, but really a little bit more than that, but take the general vacancy factor. So you double the NOI. But what did I say? I said that your basis, when you bought the property, after you took into account all the transaction costs on the front end, but you had to spend into the property, is $12.36 million. So really, you did all that work, you took all that risk, and you made $200,000. And when I say risk, look, it's that just because you projected that you're going to lease up the space in 2 years doesn't mean that you're going to lease up the space in 2 years. What if you lease it up in 4 years, right? So then what happens? Just because I said that it's going to cost you $1 million to improve the property, what if you have to replace the whole roof, which is $1 million, and you have to do some of the parking lot and the paint and waterproofing and all that? At 1 million can easily be 1.5 million. Easily. I mean, maybe even 2 million. What if the leasing commissions and the tenant improvement allowance is a lot more? I said $15 a foot for the TIA and $5 a foot for the leasing commission. That could easily be $20, $30 a square foot for just the tenant improvement allowance. $10 extra in tenant improvement allowance on 35,000 feet of vacancy is $350,000. And then the exit cap rate is usually some spread on what the market interest rate is at that time. There's some loose correlation. You're taking a risk on the interest rate because over 2 years, what if interest rates go up a lot and now your exit cap rate, your stabilized cap rate is closer to 8% or 8.5%. So these are all risks that you're taking into account. You know, who's winning here? I think it's the guy selling the property. If someone's is willing to buy it at a 5% in-place cap rate for the chance to improve the property, he's the one that's really winning, because he just got all of his money when you had to do all that work. Remember, you're signing 10 leases, right? You're project managing a new roof. You're project managing painting the property and asphalt and ADA improvements. And you're project managing getting all the tenants open, because it's not like you just hand over the keys to the tenants and they open. You have to hold their hand a lot of the time to get them through the permitting process and get them through all of these other hurdles to get them open and operating for business. And there's a risk that they don't even open and operate, actually, because of the construction process. So you're taking on all that risk to make what, $200,000 over a 2-year period. If you're lucky, it could be even, 3 or 4 years. So I went through this with this new broker, and I think he came to the same conclusion that I did, which is it's not worth a 5% in-place cap rate. And so I just really wanted to get the message out that if you're going to present a deal, think it all the way through: the transaction costs, the lease-up costs, the risks, the timing, and all that. Because if you present it that way to someone that is an operator that has gone through it, that thinks of all these things, I think it's going to land so much stronger. You're gonna have such a higher percent chance of closing the deal. But more importantly, you're going to develop a stronger relationship. When people hear that you're talking like that, they're going to say, wow, this person really knows what they're doing. They're not just trying to, get me to buy the deal for a commission. They really thought about it. And there's a lot of great brokers out there that think just like that. I don't want to, name too many names, because by name one, I got to name them all. But if you drop a comment below and you tell me which area that you're at, I can tell you which investment sales brokers in that area I would recommend. Hope you have a great day. I'm Chen. I'm president of Saglo Companies. We own and operate shopping centers across the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic. We are looking to buy $70 million of shopping centers in 2026. So let me know if you are selling anything. Talk to you later.